We're another Friday. How is everybody doing? We're doing pretty good ourselves. We're enjoying a little bit of something funky. That's right. Gelato. Number 33, infused with cotton candy by live resin by Southie Adams. These Southie Adams blunts pretty good. Not too expensive. Pretty good price point. We went up over to Nova Farms and picked it up. I have to say, pretty tasty. You know, I'm a big gelato fan. We all know that. I love the 33 is probably my favorite phenotype. Just something about that thin mint and the sherbet, it just brings out everything. It's a nice heady effect. It's just something really amazing. And these are smoking nicely. Nice and even. Very nice sweet taste. You can really taste the cotton candy mixed with that gelato flavor. I mean, it's like ice cream. It is good. It is really good. And the effects are on point. I mean, I have to say, I mean, I've only just started smoking it, so it does take a little time. People think some of these strains are instantaneously, and I think the flower, while it is pretty fast acting, it does take a little time to kick in. Oil takes even longer. Dabs are fast. I think dabs are probably the fastest. Some dabs have hit me off instantaneously, but even some flour has. But for the most part, it takes a little bit to kick in, especially if you're kind of just doing a couple of hits fast. But I am starting to feel its heady effects, and like I said, gelato is a very heady strain. That thin mint really shines through on that, bringing out the euphoria, bringing out the creativity, bringing out the headiness, and the sherbet's just so relaxing. It's just such it's an undescribable effect that gelato 33 kind of induces. Granted, it's been on the market now for quite a while, but when it like first hit the scene, very first, and people were singing about it and rapping about it, and it was something different. Nobody had put those two to together yet. So when Gelato, dropped it, it was just, just like I said, a very unique profile. Not something lemon based, not something haze based. It wasn't it wasn't Kush based either. And it caught on in the rap world. You had, Young Dolph rapping about it, made a whole album titled about it, or used it as a title rather. So it kind of grabbed steam that way. And then by the time it hit us here on the East Coast, it already was railing and wailing in the West Coast. It kind of hit the scene at storm. Every place all at once had Gelato 33. But then we didn't see it for a minute. At least I didn't. And then 33 turned into like 42 and Mochi Gelato, Jet Fuel Gelato, Horchata. Just whole different bunches of gelato crosses, and not a lot actually go back to the original 33. And I feel like the newer ones, while they are, effective, a lot of them are much more tired, much more sleepy, sleep inducing. So it's not a lot of enjoyment as much as the 33 is. 33 is great for, relaxing, but it's also great for, social engagement and going out and hanging with friends and getting things done. cutting through social anxiety and stress, all those different things. But overall, very smooth smoke by Southie Adams. I wasn't really sure what to expect with it. I've had mixed results with some of their other, pre rolls and single blunts and other things. I've never tried their infused. So, this was, be the first time trying one of their infused pre rolls. And I have to say, it does burn very nice and, um, very evenly, especially with the concentrate inside. Do recommend them. I think it was like a 1.2 gram blunt, recreational too. That's another thing. When I went over to Nova Farms, I guess I mean, I didn't really do much research on the place, but it was a rec dispensary, which I mean is fine. I do obviously enjoy more the medical end because you're not paying the taxes, sometimes better deals, higher potency. But on the rec end, I have to say Nova was perfect for pricing. They had eights at $15, $16. They had you know, all sorts of a variety of, concentrates, pens, topicals, creams, everything. Much different. And, very reasonably priced, I have to say, for being rec. And so, I mean, even this, I want to say was like 25 or 26, and that's pretty good for an infused pre roll. I've seen them, that medically, I've seen them higher medically. And plus, it's the 1.2 gram. I think like El Bluntos are like, their diamond infused are like 36 or $37 when I got it at Rev Clinics. So, those kind of a price difference gap. And I have to say, I am impressed, like I said, with the effects of this. And it being smooth. Um, the hemp leaf, the it's not dry. Um, it's not too wet though either, where it's not really hitting and lighting. It's just like right at the perfect kind of level. And I said, it's burning evenly. We're not having any canoe action. Seems to be all bud, no leaf or trim, shake, or anything like that, which is a plus. Some I've noticed pre rolls are having shake in it and, um, not using bud or using, trim leaf or sugar leaf even. And it just makes it harsh and burn, not even and runny and not good. Not a good time. Not, what you want out of a pre roll. Save all that trim and stuff. Make yourself some nice bubble hash or, if you know someone that can do concentrates or edibles even. Make a butter out of it. But man, don't be rolling it. It's not good. Not good at all. Um, we're about halfway done with it. And I have to say, like I said, loving the effects of this gelato. Just wow, it is great. Nicknamed Larry Bird for a reason because it is great. Great heady strand. It boosts over 2 point something in delta, which is just the kind of high that we kind of like. They're very heady, and it's a lot of fun. So I do, like I said, and recommend checking this strain out if you are in that area or in any of the areas of just Google it. Leafly is pretty good now. You can kind of just type in a strain. It'll tell you who has it or who has something similar. this is definitely worth it. Even if you do go out to Framingham just to get it, I would do it. I would go out there again just to get it. And let's see what's going on in the week. Yeah, we had a pretty busy week. Um, we got on another podcast. We were on Spooky Lou Show. Wrestling Roni. That was fun. What else have we got? We've been covering a couple of shows. Proving Ground had Fear the Reaper. Pro Wrestling came back live to Newton, Mass. Two great shows, back to back weekends. That was a lot of fun, both of them. And next week we got another great show coming up. That's right. Limitless is back in Maine, coming back with their anniversary show. Always a great time. This one's gonna have a lot of superstars. I mean, already off the bat, they brought in Joey Janela and Matt Tremont, and you're gonna have Joey Janela facing JT Dunn, which is one of the first matches they had at their first show. Really cool throwback. You're gonna have Big B versus Matt Tremont. That's gonna be a bloodbath. And a bunch of other matches, and that's only like a couple of them, and the rest haven't even been announced yet. Becca's in action. Channing Thomas will be the new Limitless World Champion, and of course, in Sydney, Bacabella. So always gonna be just a great time in Limitless. And like I said, we always like to go to Maine for those shows, especially the anniversary show, and I like to go out, a little bit past the anniversary show and check out the dispensaries out in Maine, because the dispensaries out in Maine are a little bit different than in Mass, and it's pretty cool. They honor Mass patients, which is nice. They're very reciprocal. So if you're a patient in another state, they will take it. Also, um, their prices are just much different than Mass. Okay, I mean, like, I'm seeing grams of concentrate for between 15 and $20. Full gram vapes, $20. Eights, on the regular, $20. Ounces, some of them $80, $100. 300 milligram edibles, $20. All their edibles, they don't start at like 5 milligrams. They start at like 25 milligrams. 25 milligram lollipops, $3. Just totally different world. They got an abundance of flour, abundance of concentrate dispensaries, and it's people that care about the industry. You get a lot of mom and pop places. You get a lot of caretaker places. There's a lot of cool stuff out in Maine as far as cannabis. I love it. I love going out there for shows. I'll go there a little early. Hit a couple of dispensaries, and then go to the show. And like I said, it saves. It saves a lot. Not just on the money. It saves just in time too, because a lot of these places have just a wide variety or a huge menu, so you don't have to go to like multiple places like in Mass. Sometimes I feel like I have to go to one place to get like one pen that I like, and another, they have no other sativas in any other form. Or Maine has a lot of variety. So one or two places which are like right across the street from each other, it's golden. You're good to go. Speaking of good to go, I mean, this thing is just still chugging along, and we are enjoying this 33. Well, that's what they call it officially on the packaging. 33 by Southie Adams. It is a blunt, but it is Gelato 33. That is the thin mint times the Sunset Sherbet. Classic, great, just potent strain. Cuts through so much anxiety, depression, um, you know, even tiredness. It can wake you up a little bit with happiness, though. Wakes you up with happiness. Great strain for a multitude, like I said, of ailment. And that's the thing about that's the thing about gelato. But I was gonna say, earlier about, it's one of those strains that the THC doesn't play. It plays a factor, obviously. THC plays a factor in everything when it's cannabis related, but the terps in it is really what makes it shine, and I can prove it. I mean, I have a really good tolerance level. Not a lot of flower will even hit me like it will hit other people. I mean, I'll get some of the effects, but not all of them. Unless I smoke a really a lot amount of it, or it's really high potency in the 30s. I've even smoked 40 tack flower before, which has been okay. But 25 and under is kind of iffy. Low 20s, it has to be something that I enjoy, and under that, it's just not happening. When gelato first hit, our area here, it came out to a place called Sarah Naturals, and they had eights of gelato 33. First place that I saw it, and it happened to be one of my home dispensaries that I went to all the time. So this was amazing, great. But there was a little bit of an issue when I first saw it. It was at a tack of like THC of like 16.5 or 16.6%. It was very low on the THC scale. And this was at a time that I even had like, I didn't have as a high tolerance as I do now, probably because of the concentration game. Bringing that up, but no, I still had done dabs and I still had smoked plain flower. So 16% I was a little wary of because I had, not for nothing. I went one time to this place called Netter, and they, the guy was like, "Oh, this is gonna be the strongest weed. I really recommend this. Because I was having trouble sleeping at the time. So he gave me something. It's called Godfather Kush. Says it's the strongest weed. It's gonna knock you out. You're not even gonna be able to finish, a joint of it. So he sold me on like an eighth of it, right? Only problem was it was at 12%. Um, and I questioned. He said, "Don't worry, terps will shine through. You're gonna be out." Yeah, no. I rolled not one, not two, not three, not I rolled the whole eighth. That night. Um, through the course of the night, and it just wasn't really doing it. It was didn't have no effect. So I was wary about this 16% on the gelato, but since it was gelato, and I was a big fan of Young Dolph, I was listening to the music in the hearing the name thrown around. I was like, I gotta try it. So, you know, being the mark that I was, I bought it, and it did something that I wasn't expecting. It blew through the tolerance level with that 16%, and that's what goes to show you. Like I said, the terpenes of those, the thin mint and the sunset sherbet really just pushes to the next level of, I don't know, for me anyways, it just like I said, it breaks something. It causes some kind of great cerebral effects, great body effects, almost like a headband effect in the head. Happiness, creativity, um, wanting to do stuff, motivation, all that greatness. So, I continued smoking that gelato 33 at that 16%, and it just kept banging through and banging through. And then, a little bit while later, another batch came, it was like at 26%. And then I was like, oh, wow. With the added THC in there was even more. And then they decided to make concentrates out of it, which I was waiting for. And, once they started bringing in Gelato 33 Shatter, I have to say, I bought a lot of Gelato 33 Shatter from Sarah. At the time, they were doing like half grams. I think with like $30 or 35. I don't even know, but I would buy a couple half grams a day just because they were so good. And especially like I said, just those early days in the industry, everything was kind of new and fresh. So a lot of the terpenes, a lot of the flavors, a lot of the profiles and stuff hadn't been used yet or hadn't been made yet. So everything was in, and a lot of the products weren't even out then yet. Shadow was kind of the bigger thing. Wax wasn't too popular as its consistency issues it had. Sometimes it would be real kind of goopy, and sometimes it would be waxy, nice. Wasn't consistent. People like the shadow though; they found it to be more effective, more hard hitting. And then we started to get rosin in, and I remember rosin hitting like Garden Remedies, and they were bringing in rosin. I remember friends making rosin, with hair straighteners, but now it's time to be commercially made, and this stuff was expensive, gooey, and hard to work with. Wasn't a fan favorite for dabbing, not on the commercial level, anyways, of buying it. So it just wasn't, I feel like rosin didn't even take off then at that point yet, which now it's probably one of the more preferred. Live rosin is definitely preferred over everything else. And it's probably the most expensive. That's the thing. After that, sugar started to come out. Diamonds came, hit the East Coast. Now, I'm not talking about the industry as a whole. I'm just talking about what came into, the East Coast or here in the Northeast Massachusetts area. You know, um, Diamonds came in, and people started to go Google over the diamonds, but they were missing a little something else. So they brought diamonds and sauce in, and they started bringing terp sauce in, and then that's when people really started to put an emphasis on terpenes. And well, what's gonna make me get this way, and what's gonna make me do this, and what's this flavor? And they started making things more terpy, and that's when like the live stuff came in, and people wanted more flavorful concentrates, and with the terpene, more full spectrum products, because shadow was nice, but it was stripped a lot. um Compared, and sometimes on shads they were all tasting the same, but it all depended on where you purchased it, how good quality it was, and so forth. Back in the day, Netta used to be the place. It was like $60 a gram on shatter, $50 the gram on wax. And I remember like I was doing, I had a shatter person, a concentrate person, that because I was working in the medical kind of field on the at this in the school district area. So like cannabis started to become a big thing, and they decided to open up a school. And when they did that, they wanted to teach kids how to get a job in the cannabis industry. So I volunteered to go up there and do some work, and they were going to give me, they gave me basically a free education, if or free certifications or whatever they needed to do, recommendations, all the stuff that you would get after the year, the curriculum. And I was just helping them with their computer work and such. So, I met a lot of people down there, and they kind of got me into that concentrate scene. So they had a shatter guy down there, and he was doing shatter, and he was bringing me in shatter, but dispensaries hadn't really opened yet. We had to go to Maine, and Maine didn't really have concentrates yet, and they were just still bringing in the vape pens. Vape pens were just starting to become a thing. So, we were a little bit behind times, but then, the industry popped, and, dispensaries started to open. And when Netta opened in Brookline, they had shatter on the menu. So, those first early days of grabbing those shatters and then being like 90% THC was just, mesmerizing, because it just blow your mind away. Especially not having it now. 90%, that's great. 90, we've seen 99% diamonds. We've seen all that. Tolerance gets more and more, but those early days, definitely was something different. Um, that's kind of reminiscent. This bring me back to kind of all that, because, like I said, that 33, really kind of showed me, these terpenes are a little bit more to it. Um, you know, but yeah. Again, what an amazing strain this is. What a way to kick off a Friday. Gelato 33, Southie Adams, man. What a great. I have to say, great product. Two thumbs up. Versace Stoner approved. Like, go get some. has a good taste, like I said, and with the concentrate inside, but you can't really taste it. It's not like overwhelming. It was a sweet taste, and it was cotton candy OG live resin in there. So you had that mixed with the 33 gelato, all put into a nice convenient hemp blunt with a nice filter. And like I said, definitely a happy strain. Um, Great for just chill, unwind. Good for gaming, good for fun, good for talking, good for chilling. It's an uppity strain, kind of in a lot of ways, like uplifting, but not too, racy. It's not gonna make your mind race. You're not gonna be, hands sweating. Some of those hazes will do that. Some of those other strains will get you a little paranoid. Not this one. Not this one at all. I think, this one's really enjoyable. And it is a hybrid, but I do feel like I said it hits like a sativa in a lot of ways, then kind of goes into an indica with the relaxation. But the mind works in a very nice way with that thin mint again. And sorry to keep repeating it, but that thin mint does really create a nice effect. And I say that because I had thin mint not too long ago, solo, in a vape pen, and it was very creative, euphoric, happy, similar to the 33. Which I also recommend if you're a fan of the 33. I also recommend checking out Larry OG. Larry OG is another great strain. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. I remember getting Inza had it for a while on wax, and I was getting it by the gram, and that stuff was so tasty, and just so effective. But if you are a gelato fan like myself, and you will play around with some of the other gelatos, and the more that we see, they're making more and more crosses with like I said, the 40s. I think it's like 41 and 42. It's not really the same as this. It's not as heady. It's not as It's more sleepy to me. It's more indica. It's more good night. It's definitely more of a fun strain, social strain. Especially in this version. I mean, this version's wild. That it's whopping over 2% delta. Really, really nice head high right now. Really strong. Very, very I said effective. But if you are gonna go with another one, I do recommend the horchata, and that's a super gelato. Basically, it's mochi gelato times jet fuel gelato, and it's just a bunch of gelatos just crossed around. Horchata is very nice. It's on the sativa side. It's not too tiring, nice and heady. A good overall mix. Which I'm wondering if they made that in concentrate form yet. They did do it in pen form. Pen form was okay, although I do prefer the flower. Thought the flower was a little bit actually more effective. Sometimes pens aren't really cannot be really effective. Depends if it's I feel like sometimes with the flower having its full terpene, it really is more stronger because it gets the whole um base. You're getting every component where a lot of the pens have been stripped, the distillates have just been pulled, and then terps added back in, or sometimes the terps are from hemp, sometimes the terps are from fruit, sometimes the terps are from other things, sometimes they're from weed. It all depends. So depending on the pen and what's inside it, it can vary the result and the effect. So the horchata in vape form, again, while it was okay, it wasn't what I would expect. But then again, I have to say I've had Gelato 33, vape pens, and I haven't been a fan of them either. They haven't really capped. They don't really. It's a totally different effect than this. It's weird. Last time I went to Maine, I bought 5 vapes. They were 5 for 80. Great deal. 5 full grams. You know, um, the gelato was so much different. It wasn't as heady, and I thought it would be. Being that it was pretty strong, pretty how do I say it? Being a concentrate, being something more than flour, you would think, but it wasn't. It was kind of very sleepy, kind of very mellow, not very too much cerebral activity at all. I was very surprised by it. So I don't know if they had changed, the whole gelato. And then, like I said, like that's kind of like how gelato 40, in the 40s is. It's not as heady as 33. It's not as cerebral. It's much lesser, in my opinion. So it's not as, potent in a lot of ways. So I was surprised again with the horchata being the same. Not as really potent as the flower. I actually, to be honest with you, haven't found a gelato pen or vape that I have liked. Now, like I said, the shadow was really good. I've had live wax, I've had rosin, live rosin. All that stuff's been fine. But I haven't found an actual vape pen of gelato that I've been like, ooh, this is the same. It's not. It's definitely not. It's just something undescribable. It's like almost it's just made for flour. It shouldn't. And I definitely could like. It's not like a go-to strain for concentrate 'cause I don't really find it often in concentrate. So it should be maybe only a flower strain, and they should just bring 33 back fully. That's my opinion again, but I'm glad I found this today down there at Nova Farms. Again, great 1 gram blunt, a 1.2 gram blunt infused with cotton candy live resin. 33, and this is by Southie Adams. And I do thank everybody for tuning in. I hope you enjoy it. Have yourself a great Friday, as I know I will after this one. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more great stuff. Versace Stoner out.